Finished school and I basically came into the family business. So my father said, hey, I got a job for you if you want it. And it was actually in Florida. It was outside of Tampa. And it was in the distribution business and working with video stores, which is something, an old concept where people would go rent a movie as opposed to now you just turn on your TV and you hit a button and the movie comes.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ryan. I don't know. That doesn't sound familiar at all. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Podium Stories. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Ryan. He's a multi-business owner with over 25 years of knowledge and experience in film distribution, wholesale, retail trade. The reason I brought Ryan today is because I think he does, the way he runs his company is very different from what we're used to. And I'm very interested to talk about how that plays within their hierarchy, within their communication, their culture, their marketing. This is going to be a very good episode. Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the time.
Awesome. So obviously I've done my research and I know what you're working on, but for the audience listening, can you give us like the elevator pitch of there's so many things you're working on at once? In 30 seconds to 1 minute, what should the audience know about you and what you're working on these days?
Okay, so I'm Ryan Kugler. I'm located in Los Angeles. Thank you for the time. I own and run 3 businesses at the same time. They are not side hustles. They are actually businesses that I am juggling. So I'm not a silent owner. I'm actually involved in all. I have 5 employees that work here in the office, and all 5 handle all 3 companies. So if it's a person answering phones, they're answering phones for all the companies. If it's a marketing person, they're doing marketing for all 3 companies. If it's a logistics person, office manager, operations, finance, they're basically handling all 3 companies, which gives excitement. It saves me money, obviously, but it gives excitement to that person coming to work every day because the job is not the same. It's not like they're working on a conveyor belt and just stamping something every day. They're doing something different because I say, okay, now we're going to work on this today for this company, and now we're going to work on this today for this company.
I love that. Let's backtrack to your origin story. So how does Ryan get to start his first company? And eventually we'll talk about second and third, but where did we start? What were the early days like?
The early days, thank you for asking, is I finished school and I basically came into the family business. So my father said, hey, I got a job for you if you want it. And it was actually in Florida. It was outside of Tampa. And it was in the distribution business and working with video stores, which is something, an old concept where people would go rent a movie as opposed to now you just turn on your TV and you hit a button and the movie comes.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ryan. I don't know. That doesn't sound familiar at all.
So basically, I came into the business and became a salesman. And I learned from my father to be persistent, be aggressive, make a lot of calls, cold call, very communicative. I was just raised that way. So in the business, I then basically decided to think outside of the box and be proactive and go, wait, why are we only working with video stores? Why don't we start working on a bigger level with big box stores, which is also known today as big box retailers like Best Buy, Target. So basically I went into those accounts. I stopped working with a mom and pop shop and started selling and buying from these larger stores. The business evolved because at the time I was only doing movies, then it went into music, then it went into games, then it went into toys, and now I do everything. So that business evolved from a wholesaler or a distributor of basically one item, one widget, as they say, to everything. So every day now, this one business, which is now called A Plan B, is basically something that provides wholesale and distribution services to manufacturers for everything from extension cords to Band-Aids to shirts to videos still, yes, we still do DVDs, to video games, to toys, to cups, mugs, socks, etc. So that is how it evolved. And then when 2008 came, basically, which was one of the first recessions of this lifetime, or our generation, should I say, I basically said, you know, I don't like how maybe my check is going to go down and I might not make money tomorrow because somebody's not buying. So I said, I'm going to start another business. And I got into a marketing business. And then I said, you know what? I was doing a hobby on the side. Everyone has a golf game or they go surfing or something. On the weekends, I would help out produce events, 5K runs. I was just a volunteer. And I moved up. I kept getting, I guess you could say, promoted to a higher position where I ran the organization. And then people in Los Angeles were calling and saying, hey, I heard you put on a good event. Can you do this for us? And I turned that into a business. So I own an event business as well, which is mainly weekends where basically I put on people's 5K or 10K runs, which are charity type organizations, nonprofits. So that is the 3 businesses that I am juggling constantly every day. So today when somebody comes in, they're going to be working on, posting for events. And then after that, they're going to be working on Excel lists for wholesale products I'm working on. And then after that, they might be shipping an order that on some marketing product.
So this is very interesting, and I want to dive into how you can apply that. I run a company. We're about 8 people, and it's just one brand, and it feels like it's enough, right? Like it seems like that takes 60 hours of my time. I don't even know how we do that.
Right.
How do you, even from a logistics of scheduling your own day, right? How does your daily planning look like? Is it the first 2 hours this, and the next 2 hours that, and the next 2 hours that? Is it whatever requires more importance? How do you manage your daily time to kind of fit in?
It's a good point. So yeah, sometimes I go home and I go, oh my God, I'm so exhausted, and I'll just go in the jacuzzi or go swimming or something or play with my kid. But the whole idea of having the 3 companies is I didn't want to go home unhappy. When you have one business and you have a bad day, a return, the sales are low, you go home kind of like, oh, this sucks. So when I leave, if one of the companies is down, I go, well, the other company, we booked an event, so all right. Or hey, we got this new order over here. So I feel good, and that's why I do that. The next day, I always write down my goals, my battle plan, whatever is my targets for the next day. And sometimes I don't really do 2 hours here, 2 hours there. I come in, I do the emails on all the companies, and then basically from there, I use judgment. Okay, I really go after the dollar amount. So if you have a big sale, a big invoice, you're going to work on that first, okay? But if I have an event this weekend, hypothetically, then my Friday is consumed with the event. Okay, do we have everything we need? Do we have the supplies? Is the food getting dropped off? Do we have the truck? So that's kind of where I'll work, because the event, I guess you can call it the high dollar amount for that weekend. So I'll work on that. So I don't want to say I follow the money, because I don't want to sound like I'm money hungry, but you really go for where the largest sale is or where the most attention needs to be put on. Now, if you have a fire, a flap, or whatever, like everyone has in business, you have to then work, if a truck went off a cliff and it was supposed to deliver somewhere, that's your next problem to deal with.
I love that. And I think obviously this presents a very interesting challenge for you, but it also presents a very interesting challenge for your employees. When you hire your employees, was it something that you were like told them later, hey, we have 3 things and we need you to plug them 3 things? Or when you're hiring, do they already know it's in the job description? Like, look, this job is segmented, right? How does the hiring of employees happen or continues to happen?
It's a very good question. No, I don't tell them there are 3 companies. What I do is I just say I'm hiring for this company, and then when they come in for the interview process, and if they've researched and told me that they know about 3 companies, I love them, and they're probably going to get hired, because that means they researched me and wanted to see what was going on. So in the interview process, if they say, hey, I read that you have this and this, am I doing this and this? And I go, dude, you just one above the other candidate, because now you know what's actually going on here.
I love that. So if you're an employee, a potential employee listening to this episode before the interview, this is a good move. Now you've done your research well.
Any candidate should research, what they're doing and walking into. And I do love when people, Google my name or whatever and go, hey, I found this out, or you did this, which is great, like you did. So because that shows interest, and I want people who have interest and want to work with people that are creative and like think outside of the box. If they're just like, hey, I'm just coming in and I'm going to answer phones and that's all I'm going to do, I'm like, do I really want to hire you? Because you want employees that are going to be like, hey, let's do this, or hey, let's do that, because I'm open to any suggestions in life.
And I'm guessing some of them, that type of job is amazing, right? Like they're doing 3 different things at the same time. It's beautiful. They're not doing one thing forever. Have you had the situation where some employees don't feel comfortable in that environment when they join?
I have not yet.
Really?
I have not had an employee, because they come in and they go, oh, you have an event company? Oh, I'd love to help out at events. I've always liked events. Can I do that too? And I go, great, good. You get paid this. It's a weekend gig, and there you go. So, I haven't had that. I've always had people that are very upbeat and ready to go and so forth. And it is a little more difficult in today's times, and you'll probably agree with this, that some of the people just aren't as educated or as outgoing as maybe 10, 20 years ago, because they're more just into their phone and Starbucks and all that.
Which I want to ask you about this when you mentioned it, because I didn't know that your first job was in sales. How is that? Me coming from Spain, I started speaking English when I was 17, so it was always something that I struggled with early on.
You're doing great.
You appreciate that. It's been a while now. But it's been something that, as a CEO, when I started, I was like, oh, this is so important to my job, and something that I started struggling and I had to get better. what were some of the skills that you got from that time that are still applied today, right? But it seems that still today, those sales skills that you got are still valuable on not just hiring new employees, closing new business, et cetera, et cetera.
The skills of back then to today, I still apply and use. I mean, what I have found in today's world is it's very easy to get stuck into the internet and go down a rabbit hole of social media or researching something where I'm like, no. I don't want my Windows, the internet is not open when I am at my desk. It is my apps that I use from, Outlook for emailing to my CRM software. So basically the key is to be aggressive and be persistent and self-disciplined and just keep going, because you can get dragged down by someone can send you an email with a link that says, here, research this, and then you do that, and then you find something else, and then there's a pop-up. I stay away from all that. Like, one of the things that my employees know is if anyone sends me an email that's like more than 3 sentences, I will not read it, because it's like, I don't have the time. I got to make calls. I got to talk to this person.
We have 3 companies to run.
So I don't have, so when someone sends me an email that's like this long, I either forward it to my assistant and say, you read it and just tell me what I need, or usually I'll read the first sentence and the last sentence, then I'll go, okay, I need to read the whole thing. And then I might put it off for like 2 hours from now. Because usually I do I don't know how to say it, but I compartment my day where I go, okay, well, this time I'm going to make calls, and this time I'm going to, return calls, and this time I'm going to eat lunch, and this time I'm going to walk around the office and talk to the employees and see what's going on.
I love that. Yeah, something I'm curious about as well is how you guys define objectives and KPIs, and if they're blended or they're also compartmentalized. So do you guys have end of year goals for each of the companies that you guys have, and do you guys have meetings to define if you met or didn't meet those goals for each of them? How does that review?
I do have goals. You can't see it because we're on a camera, but I'm pointing to the goals on the wall that are in front of me, and I'm pointing to the goals for the month that are to the side of me. So I'm constantly looking at it, and I really feel as me, the president of the company, the guy who's driving the ship, it's really my job to make sure those goals happen. Yes, I go over with the employees, but it's not like they know, I don't have a large company like, usually 15, 25, 50, 100 employees, you kind of do that, but each person has their own goals. So then I will go over it with them, but I don't really go over, okay, hey, we haven't done 10 million yet, and we're in the month of November with them, with, the person answering the phone, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting how you guys play that. I'm curious because we often hear, business gurus giving advice and writing books about the riches are in the niches, and you have to focus and double down on things, and you have to close your eyes and eat shit for 10 years, and then you wake up and you have a big business. Versus it seems like you guys approach this in a very different way. Have you ever thought about what would have happened if you had focused down on one thing? Like that feeling of double down versus diversifying, is that something that's ever on your mind of like, what if I had done that? Versus I'm completely sure that I did I did it the right way.
I do think about that frequently, especially more in the last 2 years. Why? Because you've probably had friends that said, hey, I sold my business for $20 million. And you're like, what? And I'm still doing this? So yes, I get a call every couple months from some relative or family member that's like, they did that and they made all this money and they're done. And I go, oh, okay. But at the same time, I just go, listen, to each in his own, wherever they go, whatever route they take or path, that's fine. This is the path I'm taking. And I am happy and can pay my bills and invest money and save. So I'm kind of good. Although I don't use the word save anymore, but invest. But, I'm content with where I'm at. And do I think these companies will sell one day? Sure. I mean, I get stupid emails and faxes from some business broker trying to buy. And so each one does have its own vertical or niche that it is succeeding in. But if I just chose one company and only just sold number 2 pencils for the last 50 years, I don't know. See, I'd get bored. And that's why I have the other companies. Because, I have something where because these days it can be mundane and kind of annoying, especially with the social world we live in where you're constantly seeing these new videos and new things going on and these people doing this. So I kind of feel like, well, I do have 2 other things going on, or 3 things total. So I'm kind of happy spreading the wealth and diversifying.
I love that. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, when you're managing these 3 different companies, I'm guessing at some point over the last few years, some of them grow faster and quicker than the others, and some of them fall behind. What do you think about when that happens? Do you feel about if a company falls behind, is your approach let it fall behind because we have two more, or is your approach let's double down on that one that's falling behind and catch it up versus continue on the ones that are growing quicker? How do you balance that?
The latter. I'm going to choose the latter, what you just said. So it does happen. So like right now, my marketing business is down. Okay. So ever since COVID started, businesses contracted. They worked from home. They sent everyone home. So when businesses contract, marketing actually takes a hit first. Okay. Everyone always cuts marketing budgets. It just happens. I'm going to stop advertising, stop doing that. So that business has been down. Do I say, fuck it, not worry about that? Sorry. Or do I focus on the other? Right now my event business, ironically, is doing the best ever right now. Everybody's booking events because people are done with this stay at home and all the restrictions are like, nope, we're going to go do events. We're going to get out there. We're going to get people together. So that business is doing great. Where if you asked me March, or April 2020, that business was doing the worst. Do you see? Because everyone was canceling events. So they all go like this in different directions. And I just ride the wave. And that's where I actually go, thank God I have three businesses, because if I only had an event business, I'd be sleeping on the road in a tent right now for COVID. So, and everyone always came and said, oh my God, I feel so bad. How are you doing? Your event business? I go, dude, I got two other businesses. They're doing great. Because during that time, my wholesale business did do great because the essential retailers needed product and needed stuff. So they called us. So, in a year from now, if you interview me, I might say, now my marketing business is doing great and the others suck. So it goes up and down.
Yeah. When I was doing the research for the podcast, it felt like investing in stocks, right? Like you can invest in one stock, and if it goes crazy high, we're rich. If it goes low, we're done. Or we can invest in a diversified portfolio, and then we create that balance and safeguard. So sure, maybe one company goes real high and then the other goes less, but overall we stable and we grow at a good pace.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, by the way. You're right. It's a great analogy. You're investing in other stocks or other forms of investments, whether it be a mutual fund or crypto or oil or whatever. So you're right. No one should ever just say, I'm just going to invest in the company Facebook, because if they put all their money into Facebook, which is doing great, but then one day it has a bad thing and then it goes down and then you're like, great, well, but you could have invested in Coke or Ford or Tesla or Amazon or whatever, and then it could have spread the wealth.
I love that. Yeah, I run an agency, and something that we found is that we get cross-industry insights, right? Like we work with clients that are in a few different industries, and we see insights from here, and we're like, oh, that worked there. Let's try it with a different client, another industry. Is that something that also happens with you? Because you have the three industries that you're playing in. Do you get lessons from whether it's more about running the company or also from marketing and stuff like that you can apply on the other business and create mutual benefits?
Yes, I'm educated, and that's one of the reasons that I have three businesses, because I want to learn from different industries what's going on. Have I ever taken information from one to the other? Yes, but a funny story here is trifecta. So the three companies, my goal was to have all three companies do business with the same company, unbeknownst to them. So my event business did an event for one company. Then my marketing business sold them marketing material, and then my wholesale business. So to me, I'm like, this is great. All three companies are doing business with the same company, different divisions, obviously. But I knew it inside, and my accounting department was going, wait, where are we applying this money to? So it was kind of funny, and it was a good little game. And I've only had it with one company so far on this planet, but I'm trying to do it with others. So anyway, that's just a little funny story.
I love that. I love that. One thing I really value about what you guys are working on is, as entrepreneurs, we build these companies because we want to design not just our professional lives, but our lives in general, right? And it seems like you've been able to find something that provides happiness and it provides enjoyment and entertainment that is not boring. And it feels like that should be the goal of entrepreneurs, right? Design the business that works for you. If that's one business and that's it, do that. And if it's three business because you want to do different things, do that as well, right? We're entrepreneurs. We're supposed to be life designers in a way.
Yes, I agree with that. My side note to that is, it's funny. I was corrected by someone who's made a lot of money, a very multimillionaire, billionaire probably at this point. And I said, hey, one thing I will never get involved in is passion projects. So, because I have found in business, now again, I'm not the biggest guru. I'm on your show, and thank you, but
Right.
there's a lot of people who know a lot more about me. But passion projects is something I stay away from, and I would never do as a main source of income, because you want to find a product or service that is needed and then wanted. If you do something and go, I've always had a passion product to paint turtles pink. Who wants a pink turtle? You know what I'm saying? So I always try to tell people, don't get involved in a passion product, because you're going to put all your money into it. But if you do really want to paint pink turtles, just go on Google, research it. Do people buy pink turtles? Do people want pink turtles? Are people putting on social media? Now, granted, you could start a whole trend, a fad, and make pink turtles, and then your passion project comes to fruition. But my goal is no, I'm going to find a product or service that's needed, that's not being used. And that's how Silicon Valley does it. They find something that has not being used that will help someone in the future, so that it will be needed. And that's why they succeed, because they go, hey, you know what? This blank is going to do great for people, and everyone's going to need it. Who would have thought, Uber and DoorDash and all that would do great? And granted, DoorDash came out at the right time, right before COVID, where everyone's stuck at home. But anyway, and Uber, I know, has had a little issue for the last 2 years, but they're going to do great as soon as everyone opens back up again. So
yeah, I like that, because I think all the challenge when you put your financial incentives with your passion project is that it can ruin your passion, right? And I've had that. I wanted to make money with a passion, and then eventually I did like the passion when I didn't make money of it. But when it has to make money, it can also ruin that. I have a couple of questions now that we're running out of time.
Take your time.
One of the things that I think is very interesting as entrepreneurs, and one of the things I struggle with, is letting go of control and delegating, right? We as entrepreneurs, it's hard. We build this company, it's our baby. It's hard to put it in the hands of others. And when you have 3 companies, you have to do that. You're forced to delegate. How have you found the ability to let go and let other people take control and trust them and believe that they're going to do a great job? And was that hard for you initially? How has your process of delegating been?
I'm good at delegating, and I 100% agree. I don't want to micromanage. So I'd rather just give as much responsibility to other people as long as I feel and know that they can do it. So, when it comes to events, I really, an event producer, an event coordinator, whatever you want to call it, really does have a special talent, or Pentium chip, as I call it, in their mind to be able to do an event and deal with this many moving parts in an event and, thousands of people coming. So when I say, hey, you're in charge of food and water or beverage, or, it's like, I just got to let go and go, hey, man, I hope he hands out the food. I hope he gives it to the right person. I hope he doesn't drop it. And I just walk away. Now, if there's a problem, then I'll come back and fix it. But I do believe in delegation, and you have to, because you can't do everything. So the only area that probably I'm guilty of not delegating is I really do like sales and like talking to the customer and consumer or whoever it is. And I feel that, because sales is sure, you can read from a script, but you and I both know when you get a call from a salesman who's reading from a script, you can't stand it. You're like, oh my God, get me off the phone. So I feel that sales it's the same thing. You're using judgment. So you have to read the person and know what's going on and when to stop talking or when to keep talking. And I have learned this over years. So sales is probably the one area where I'm like, no, I'll do it. I will make the sale. I will get the guy on the phone and I will do it. Because I feel I give it to someone else. They need to prepare for it. They want to write the script. And I'm like, dude, just pick up the phone, call the guy and say, do you want to buy it or not? And if he has hesitations, tell him on the product. So
I love that. And diving into that, this was not planned that the conversation would go here, but I'm happy it did. What are some of the things of advice that you would recommend other entrepreneurs when it comes to sales, right? Like, you've been doing this for a long, long time, from cold calling, and I'm sure you've experienced the change in sales over time. What are some of the things that, if you were talking to yourself back then, or if you were, what advice would you give other entrepreneurs to become better salespersons?
So it's an easy answer, but it's a tough one, because I have to tell you, with technology in the world, it's changing like every day, every week, every month now. I'm having to educate myself and learn what is new in sales and what's going on. I mean, social media is becoming a big, big thing now, and word of mouth. Making a phone call, sending an email, a cold email, really does not get through to the person anymore, which really sucks. It's really about impressing the person, or a relationship, or just sparking something in their mind, almost like that movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio. You have to do something that they don't know about that gets them to go, hey, I want to buy that, as opposed to just, hey, look we have a Coca-Cola bottle for sale for $1.99. That doesn't really work anymore. So I'm still learning and educating myself every day, but my advice is to be persistent and don't give up. That is the key because, your listeners, you probably know if you were selling a product and you sent out 10,000 emails, 10, 20 years ago, you'd get 500 replies back saying, I'll buy it. Now you send that out and you get 2 emails back, of which one is unsubscribe and the other one's F you. So it's like you're always learning, okay, well, what do I have to do now to sell today? Not this month, not this year, but what technique do I need to apply? So it's really, it just comes down to the basic root of be persistent, don't give up. With whatever technology you're going to use, whatever format, whether you're still calling, which does work, whether you're still emailing, which does work, or posting something, which does work. You have to do so many different things. When I started selling in 1989, you picked up the phone, you wrote a letter, or you sent a fax. Now it's between WhatsApp and texting and this and that. It's like there's 20 different ways to get a hold of someone now.
Right. I love that. But the technology has changed, but the principles of it doesn't matter how many no's you get, just keep going, be persistent, that still applies, and that will continue to apply. Ryan, final question. It's a very selfish question that I ask all our guests. I just turned 25 years old. I'd love to know if you could travel back in time and talk to Ryan at 25, what is one piece of advice? What is something that you would say to him?
Invest more. Because when you're young and you finish school, you want to buy things, you want to go places, go to concerts, do this, buy a beer, go out at night, and it's great and it's fun and you should. But if I would have invested more starting at 25, thinking of the money I made instead of blowing it on the latest pair of, whatever shoes, it would have been better. So I tell, but they have said, studies have come out and said that millennials, younger group, are saving more money than they ever have. Although COVID, I think, kind of ruined it, unfortunately, because a lot of people started spending the money they saved. But I would just say, but the other key is to invest. There's a big difference between the word save and invest. Save, you're putting it in a bank and you go, cool, my bank balance is 50 G's. But inflation right now is at 5 or 6%. So you're actually, and the interest rate you get paid by the bank is less than 1%. So you're actually losing 5% on that cash sitting in the bank. But if you invest it with someone that's going to pay you 6 to 12%, now you're making 6%. You're making money off the money. So that's why I said invest instead of save.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yesterday I got a text from my bank saying, great news, we increased our interest rates to 0.1 APY.
Right.
I was like, you guys are kidding me.
That's good news.
I was like, you texted me for this? I mean, I got it in my account by now.
Yeah, I know. So that's why I find something to invest in, whether it's a property, whether I could say a buddy's business because you could score well. I mean, look at all the people that invested in Facebook in the beginning or all these other, So do that or find some type of passive income investment that you can do. It's really well worth it because then you're making money off your money and you're getting instead of getting a text saying your interest rate, you're getting a text saying, hey, $500 was just put in your account.
I love that. Ryan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here. If you're listening, I think today you learned a lot from Ryan, from the way he runs his businesses. We're going to put links to Ryan's company. It's going to be a full page of links.
Yeah, there's a few links.
Ryan's LinkedIn. I think, please feel free to connect with him. Ryan, again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. For everyone listening, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.